Welcome back to Definite Fiction, and welcome to part 3 of a 3-part series on making a Premier League scorebug. In this video, we will be creating a timer. I'm going to be writing the macros and hopefully showing how they work, but I will make the spreadsheet available for download if you don't want to have to retype what I'm showing. As of publishing this video, creating a timer that counts up past the 60-minute mark is a bit challenging. The problem is that Excel reformats 60 minutes as an hour, but I have a way to get around that. All right, so we are going to replace the half text box we added to the scorebug in part 2 with the timer. In Excel, we are going to be using timer, minutes, and seconds fields. We can set the minutes and seconds to 0. For the timer field, we want to use the Excel time formatting, which is 0 for hours, :00 for minutes, and 00 for seconds. In the formula bar, we can see that the default value for 0 is 12 a.m. If we select the number format and click more number formats, we have lots of options. The one we are looking for is minute, second. Now we are going to change the quarter text box and set the formula bar for it equal to the timer cell. The formatting reverts to the default font face, so we will have to fix that. In the cell next to the timer cell, we are going to set it equal to the timer cell and then reformat that cell to be a number. If we change the timer cell equal to 45 minutes, the fractional value of that is only 0.03. We can increase the numbers of decimals displayed. Now we need to set a new cell equal to the decimal value multiplied by 1,440. This is 24 for the hours in a day, multiplied by 60 for the minutes in an hour. That formula gives us the minute value. We can again increase the number of decimal places. We're going to insert a new rectangle shape. We will set the formula bar for the new rectangle to equal the minute value cell. We will of course need to reformat the text to match the scorebug. If we scroll over the Shape Format tab, we can remove the outline and the fill. Now we're going to increase the width of the rectangle and right justify the text. We are going to right justify the timer text box and then reduce the width so that we only see the :colon and seconds in the field. If the text is wrapping in the text box, you can deselect text wrapping in the text properties for the text box. We can drag this field over the scorebug and using the arrow keys, position it over the current timer. We need to bring the original timer field to the front. At this point, we have lots of fields. Sometimes it's tough to select the one that we want, so we can always tab through each of the fields until we find the right one. If you go too far, you can hold down Shift and press Tab to cycle through the opposite direction. We need to set the background fill of the timer to the purple color. This way, we will not be able to view the extra decimals in the minutes rectangle. All right, now it's time for the macros. We're going to open Visual Basic Editor using the Developer tab. We will insert a new module and give it a descriptive name like Timer Macros. The first command is to set the variable for the time quantity to be a date. We type public football time date, no spaces on that. As date, football time date is the variable. The first macro is for starting the timer. We will call this subroutine football timer start. The Visual Basic Editor will automatically add in sub once we add parentheses at the end of the subroutine name. In between these lines is where the code goes. The first line is to set the rate for the timer. In this case, our football time rate variable will be equal to now, the current time, plus 1 second, which is time value, parentheses, quote, 00:00:01, quote, close parentheses. Our timer is in cell B13 on our spreadsheet, so we're going to set range B13 in quotes, dot value equal to itself plus 1 second. In order to get this process to continue sort of in the background while we're using the spreadsheet, we need to add application.onTime space football time rate, comma, and then in quotes, the name of the macro, football timer start. And this causes the macro to run every second. On to the next macro. This will be to stop the timer. We'll call it football timer stop. This macro only requires a couple lines of code. First, we're going to type on error, space between on and error, and then go to no space, and then error message, no space. This is going to be in case we try to run this macro before starting the timer. Then we're going to type application.onTime space earliest time with no space and colon equals football time rate, comma. Procedure colon equals, and then in quotes, football timer start. And then a comma outside the quote, schedule colon equals false. The false is what causes the macro to stop. Then after this line, we need to type error message colon and then exit sub. This on error and then error message is what causes the line of code to stop the macro to not execute. The final macro we need is to reset the timer using the minute and second fields of our spreadsheet. Those values are in cells B14 and B15. This macro will also only need a couple lines of code. We type range parentheses and then in quotes B13 close parentheses dot value is equal to quote 00 colon quote, and then the ampersand, and then the reference to the minute value range B14 dot text, not value, text. Another ampersand, and then in quotes a colon, and then a final ampersand, and then range, and then in quotes B15 dot text, which is the second value. The next line is to make sure the number format is still minute colon second. For this, we will type range and then in parentheses and in quotes B13 dot number format equals and then in quotes mm :ss. To make it easy to run these macros, we will add buttons for each. We can right-click one of the rectangles we added in part 2 of this tutorial to copy and paste the rectangle. We then right-click this copy and edit text to add a start label. Then right-click again and assign macro and select the football timer start macro. We will repeat this process for the timer stop. And the timer reset macro. Okay, we can now use the buttons to start the timer and stop the timer. We can then set the minutes to 59 and seconds to 55, and we can see what happens when the timer passes 60 minutes. We can also do the same for the timer reaching 100 minutes and keep going. And this only works because we are using the minute value field instead of the timer field. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. And if you learned something in this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks.